Guys, welcome back to another Dragon Ball Super video, and today is going to be the last video in the state of the meta going into set 16. And today we're going to be going over Red. And I saved Red for last because I think Red has one of the biggest changes in trajectory, considering where Red has been and where Red is going to probably go, at least for the next set or two. So make sure you guys like and subscribe. Let me know what you guys think of the content. As always, let me know how excited you guys are for set 16. What do you guys want to play? And if there's anything Red that you guys are interested in, I'm sure I know a lot of people's answers is going to be the Goku, obviously, but I just want to see kind of what everyone's interested in here. So first things first, we're going to go over what I feel like the best leaders going into set 16 for Red. Now, there's not a lot. Red's kind of in a weird spot, or has been in a weird spot. Yellow really shoulder checked Red over the past few sets, and with the nerfing of Rollie, with the routed to the field, as well as the drum limit on King Piccolo, it's been a little rough for Red. And even though Red has a ton of really powerful staples, Red's been in a bad situation where it just hasn't felt like it could really, do much, right? Now, Yellow has seamlessly gotten worse. Yellow's still very good. Don't get me wrong, but with Power Super Saiyan being limited, with Icarus gone, there's not that just generically I'm gonna outdraw you, outdraw your aggression type of thing in Yellow anymore, without having to have some sort of archetype, flow and curve, right? I think these are the best three leaders for Red going into the set. Now, I think there's obviously at least one of the Red leaders is going to be probably the best Red leader in the format, if not one of the best decks, if not the best deck in the format. But I think these three are all very good and all do very different things. Bulma, I've played Bulma. I've played a decent amount of Bulma. I think because Red doesn't have anything that's like considered control, right? Red doesn't really have anything, and Bulma is an incredibly powerful leader. The amount of Saiyan and Earthling cards at her disposal, even if you just play mono Red, is absolutely nuts. And one of the best things about this leader is that this leader was initially buffed, inherently buffed, because of the banning of 10-drop Fu. With 10-drop Fu gone, this leader gets so much better, because now you don't have to worry about the whole blocker situation, right? They tap 6, they play that, and then they just kill you because you're you're a 10k leader, and none of your blockers have any skills, right? Card's incredibly powerful, and just the fact that it can outdraw decks a lot, and you don't have to swing. That's the other thing, is you don't have to swing. You don't have to swing at your opponent early. You have to force them to take their own life, and move the game forward. And then when they do that, they're obviously going to hit you. You probably would hang around the 6 life mark for a long time. The one thing about this deck, then the weakness of this deck inherently, is going to be the time rules until they change that. So that's some discretion there. Next thing, King Piccolo. We obviously know what King Piccolo does. King Piccolo is still probably right now, and this is we're right now in the recording of this video, we are in between post pre-release and the actual release of the set. So still, since everything's not legal yet, King Piccolo is the best Red deck. Can go aggro incredibly well. It's traditionally sort of a mid-range deck. Has the ability to pivot to more of a late game presence depending on what you're using in your side deck and in your main deck, as some weird 1-of and 2-of tech options. It's really good, man. I think King Piccolo is in need of, especially after this next set, I think King Piccolo will need some sort of demon clan that they could use. Just like one card, right? Just one card that can give King Piccolo an extra oomph. I know the 1-drop King Piccolo, you guys saw the video with Matt for my locals that we made. That 1-drop is inherently a way to shift the deck into more of a aggro, aggressive tempo type of deck. But I don't think it's enough. I don't think it's enough for King Piccolo to take the top spot. And the other deck is going to be Red Broly. And a Red Broly, again, gets inherently buffed because of the ban list. With Yellow going down the 1 power of Super Saiyan, helps out a lot. And I know, you know, there's a lot of people who think this deck just loses to, you know, interaction during the combo step. And, you know, theoretically they're right. You know, the deck does definitely suffer in that sense. But I think Rollie is a deck that you really should put a lot of time into. And I think the people who play Red Rollie the best can handle any of those matchups. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think they're able to play around it in a sense. A lot of it's sequencing. And it really will throw your opponent off and put him in a situation where, you know, it doesn't matter playing against a yellow player and they have Mecha Frieza and the Goku counter in their hand and, you know, different things like that. I think Red Broly can still be incredibly powerful. And I think there's a build where you realistically don't have to run Vampa. I've tested a build with Vampa and without Vampa. And it seems like most of the time you don't really need the Vampa to actually even do anything. So that's good, right? You don't need Vampa, but it's interesting, definitely interesting. So before I go into the deck profiles for those, I did want to give sort of a quick little spot here to King Vegeta. I really like this deck. I really like King Vegeta. I will have a King Vegeta build probably out before the new set comes out. And I think King Vegeta is in a very interesting spot. For one, the way that you can build the deck now, because it can still be sort of a very low to the ground aggro deck. It really can be. But you also can kind of pivot to being like a turn 4, turn 5 deck. And with the leader, because the leader, honestly, the leader is one of the best red leaders in the game. Like, just searching top 5 for a mono red Saiyan, that's incredible. Like, that's a lot of tech pieces, that's super combos, that's negates, that's, you know, archetype cards. And the fact that his awakened side just negs something by 10k whenever you neg something. So, inherently like a Mecha Frieza effect, like when you activate an effect, your leader now gets this really powerful effect. And that's kind of what this is. This is not on just on your turn too, right? I really like this leader. I think there's a build where you do run the shifting gears engine, which is still good. There's a build where you don't have to run switching gears. You only have to run the Young Invaders. You just use the field spell. You can use it to self-awaken. You can use it to pop BMSs or, you know, East Kais and different things like that. There's a lot of utility that this leader has, and we'll go over that more in the deck profile, but definitely a leader to look out for. Don't be surprised if you sit down on a webcam, at locals, even at a regional, and you see a King Vegeta. Don't overlook it, is what I'm saying. Because don't overlook it, because there's a good chance if you're not prepared for it, they will clap you, and it's just going to be bad. So moving on from there, we're going to go over real quick the King Piccolo. As always, make sure you guys, you know, understand that these are not just like, these aren't like the most optimal decks. I kind of took just like a quick snapshot of what I think the deck would look like. Either just made to be placeholders, templates, those type of things, right? And as I was saying, King Piccolo, I think it's still going to hold his top spot in red. I think people should play King Piccolo if you're playing red. If you're not playing the other red deck that we'll talk about in this video, you should play King Piccolo. It's most consistency. The weird part is the deck obviously needs a unison to run. So that is the one thing. So if you don't see your unison, that's why like keeping ratios down to probably like the 50-51 mark is probably the best idea. So you have consistency with this deck, because once you take away consistency from King Piccolo, and you don't have a unison and you don't have a piano, it becomes really bad. It becomes really, really bad. And it's kind of a problem. So you kind of have to figure out, you kind of have to navigate through there as well. Obviously a card that I didn't put in here that's very good for tech purposes is going to be the Kaioken Super Saiyan Blue. Just be able to remove cards like Slug, which does definitely hurt the deck quite a bit. So, next one's going to be Red Broly. And Red Broly is a deck that I think has a lot of unique play lines for its kill turn. Realistically, Fearless Pan probably being the most important card in the deck, excluding like the Broly chains, because obviously that's important, right? But Fearless Pan is your effect that you use off of your -6 or whatever it is, right? -6, -6. It's like I have the card in front of me. I can't read it. The -6, you play out 2 red battle cards, 3 cost or less, with 19 game power or less, with different names. Fearless Pan is obviously going to be the second one that you play out because you give everything on your board, including your leader, 5k and double strike. And that's a very easy way to clear out the game because you have all these double strikers, essentially double strike crits, triple strike crit. Like you have all these really powerful cards on the board. But the second slot is always where things kind of get open up. You could run something like Kaioken, where when you play Kaioken, you pop your opponent's entire board. So if they have a bunch of blockers, you can play that. You have the Burst Gohan, where you swing at them if you have less than 4 cards in hand, or if you have 4 or fewer cards in hand, you draw 2, right? And he's got crit, and this initially, Pan will give him double strike. You have the 19k crit Vegeta that's played in the King Vegeta deck. The Super Saiyan God one, where you search top 5 for a mono red Saiyan. So you can actually use that to search out a super combo, right? And it's a 19k crit, so it's going to get double strike. Like there's different tools you can use, and there's some in the new set as well. But there's definitely a lot of unique stuff that you can do with that, and also the fact that the leader, I think people forget about this sometimes, but it does search out an extra card, because everyone obviously uses it for Vampa, but you could use it for Imposing Presence. You can use it for Wolfang Fist. You can use it for After Image. You can use it for the Korin Special Medicine card. Like there's a ton of different one cost extra cards that you can use it for. And if you're not running Vampa, you have those options open now. You can get the Imposing Presence. You can get Wolfang. Like there's different things you can do, and I hope people look at that, because that's very important. It's very, very important. Definitely changes a lot in the game as well, you know, just because you're able to search a card, and sometimes you don't have to play super aggressive. I mean, like against control decks that want to set up, especially decks that charge multicolor, you'll kill them turn 2, turn 3, probably every game. If not turn 2, you'll kill them turn 3. But other decks, so you can go turn 4, turn 5, and if you're playing the game well, and you get to the 6 drop, and then you're able to pop your Piccolo unison for 6, and then go into all your swings. You can kind of play that more. I'm gonna rip your hand apart type of ruling, and I'm glad that the ruling for the opponent's next turn got resolved, because if so, this deck just wouldn't have been playable. So now we're gonna go into Bulma last, and this is I would say a traditional Bulma list. What people kind of what they think Bulma is, because they use the burn engine with the King Piccolo unison. You also have another opinion of this deck if you guys watched my Bulma video from a few weeks back. If not, I would go check that out. Go look it up on the channel. That's a very in-depth kind of conversation about Bulma. If you guys want me to go more into detail with how to play Bulma in the next current meta, we could possibly make a video about that. Just let me know down in the comments. We'll talk about it and discuss it. But I definitely think this is a leader that should be played. And there's constantly going to be new Earthlings, constantly going to be new Saiyan cards coming out, especially that are red and yellow. So that even gives you some wiggle room where you can run yellow. I think mono red is probably just the best archetype right now for it. There's also like a bit of a Universe 7 build that you can do with stuff. There's some different options for Bulma, but I think most people probably will start with this burn strategy, just because the Piccolo unison is very powerful, being able to burn them. Just not really my cup of tea. Not a huge fan of this build. All right, so now we're gonna go into the next 2 leaders coming out in the set, which are going to be Grand Priest, Commander of Angels, and Son Goku, Supreme Warrior. We have the U7 Goku and the Rainbow Grand Priest leader, essentially. So now one of these leaders, which is Goku, has already been looked at as probably being crowned like best deck in the format, right? I think the deck is very good. I think the deck should be looked at and should be not feared, right? Not feared, but you should look at the deck and go, okay, I'm gonna have to deal with this deck. I should probably learn how to play around it. Grand Priest, not so much. Grand Priest these are 2 very separate sides of the spectrum. And Grand Priest is a very cool leader. I think there are multiple different ways you can build this leader. That's cool. That's a really cool thing for people who like deck building, right? Because you have a leader who, granted, he can only play God cards. On the front side, it says you can't include non-God battle cards in your deck, so you can only include God cards. But there's so many God cards to pick from. So many God cards, even just monocolor. There's a lot. So you have a huge pool of cards to pick from, and I think people are going to have some fun and build some very powerful decks. And I hope they do. I hope they really can come up with a strategy that works, because I just want to copy someone's deck. I don't want to build this leader. I've spent probably more time building this leader than I've done any other leader this set, just because there's so many options, and it's really irritating trying to pick like the best option for it. But competitively, no, it's not very competitive. I don't think I think it will have good matchups against particular decks, depending on the one that you build, whether you do. Because like obviously you can play all the god cards. You're not going to play all of them. Like you're going to play like a particular style. You may play like red, blue, green. You may play red, blue, yellow. Maybe red, blue, I don't know, black. Like there's different ideas you can do. It's just going to really feel out, like depending on your style and what you're playing. You're going to have good matchups against some good decks, but you're going to have a lot of bad matchups because there's a lot of cards you just can't play. Right? You can play a lot of the good red, defensive cards, but battle card wise, it's very limited in interaction and stuff like that. So we have Goku, pretty typical Goku build here. Now from testing this deck, because I have the deck here, and there'll be a video for it once I kind of get the ratios and stuff down for it. But honestly, let me see if I can find it. The spoiler, I did not pull the Vegeta Secret Rare, which kind of sucks. But honestly, this guy here, this 8-drop Goku guy, you don't need the Secret Rare. I think the Secret Rare is great for the fact that you can grab it back if you burst it. I think that's the best part about it. After playtesting with the deck, and I even did some test proxies with if I had the Vegeta, it's good. It is good. Like getting through barrier, that is incredible, right? I don't know. Like I wouldn't spend the money on the Secret Rare. I was hoping to pull it. If it's like 150, I'd probably buy it, but there's no chance I'm getting it now, right? I think the card's really good, but the 8-drop Goku, man, I feel like you can close out way more games with that card than you can the Goku and then the Vegeta, right? Certain matchups, like if you're playing against very heavy control decks and they have a ton of blockers and everything's on board, being able to use the Vegeta to pop everything and burn a life is incredibly good. But most of the time people are playing the Vegeta just to burn the life. That's it. Like they're not using it for the swinging effect. They're playing it for 4 to then pop it to then wipe the board and burn the damage, right? But Goku being able to swing twice and rip a card from your opponent's hand is so valuable, and negging your opponent's board. Like it's I don't know. I think in most cases I think the Goku is actually better, but that's up for completely up for opinion. I may be completely wrong about that, right? But this leader is incredibly powerful. You have so many 1-drops in this deck. You have the 1-drop Double Striker. You have the 1-drop Dual Attacker. You have very powerful 2-drops in Divine Presence and the 2-drop Deflect Vegeta that negs through barrier and draws you a card, right? And has crit. You have the 1-drop Gohan that searches out cards. There's a build of this where you can use the Skill Ascension, right? There's so many interesting cards in this deck. And the fact that your leader can get any of them back from the drop area if you so choose, right? You can play Koitsukai. Koitsukai doesn't go to the warps. You can play Koitsukai. You can play the Mission Accomplished Fu. That's a 2-drop that can grab back any card that's 7 or less, right? You can play, there's so many cool cards you can play, and I'm really excited to play this leader. The one problem though is I think you need to run close to 60 cards. I think if you run 50 cards, you're gonna deck yourself out by turn 4. And it's not going to be fun because you're taking away one big aspect of the deck, which is drawing. The deck draws itself into the ground. And if you don't run 60 and you get to turn 4 and you're trying to draw, you're not going to be in a good position. You're going to really hate yourself because you're not able to, if you have 5 cards left in deck and you have an android on board, oh cool, I can swing, but I'm not getting any hand advantage. Right? And then if your super combos, you can super combo with them, but you still got to draw, right? So it's weird. So I definitely think running close to 60 is probably the best avenue for most people. But again, maybe you can close the game out on turn 3. Maybe you're just playing a super aggro deck. There's always that option as well. Now Grand Priest, again, Grand Priest is super weird, man. I want to try the deck out, and probably at some point I will. But I'm very curious on what people come up with. I know I have some people at the different locals that I go to that have talked about this leader, and I've seen some deck lists, and I'm interested hopefully next week to get some playing in so we can start seeing some of this stuff. But it's interesting. It you know, the deck has a burn win condition, which you'll probably never do. I don't think it's ever going to happen unless you're playing against just a deck that just doesn't interact with you, right? But there's so many variety of things that you can play. Like as you see in one of these builds, we're playing the Goku Black Unforeseen Darkness, you're playing Champa the Trickster, you're playing Zamasu the Eliminator. And in the other one, you're playing, you know, you have some black one-drop gods that you can play. So that way we can play the new Supreme Kai Secret Rare. We're running kind of a red-yellow build where you're running the Offering god as well as the one-drop Beerus that gets crit. You're running the Arrival one. You're running both Arrival ones. So like there's different builds you can do, and I'm glad that they printed this as a red leader, and not as a black leader. I think this would have been really good as a red or a blue leader. I think they probably could have did either one. Blue would have been nice because it would at least give them access to Dimension Magic, since this deck doesn't have a ton of floodgates that you can play, if any floodgates at all. I don't think you have a floodgate outside of like possibly the Supreme Kai of Time, you know, Secret Rare, right? Like I don't think there's a god floodgate. I may be missing it off the top of my head, but I don't think there is. You can run, you know, Violent Rays, so that's probably about it for the red deck. So it's an interesting deck. The one problem with it, I do think, is the fact that it is kind of a heavy deck. You are running a lot of multicolor, and outside of your leader effect and your unison effect, you can combo with them for free, right? But once you get to a certain point, you're not going to have much combo power. Most of your effects are going to be in the combo step, on play, and already on field. If you have a handful of some of these 2-cost combo cards, you can't combo with those with your unison. You can only combo those with your leader. So a little bit of an awkward situation there. Like I said, test this deck. Definitely try it out. If you guys come up with some cool builds, send me some deck lists. I would love to see them. Maybe I'll put them into a video if we talk about the leader. So last but not least, we're going to go over some of the cards you guys should look out for. As always, I'm trying to do cards that are not SRs and no SPRs, and just some of the middle around cards that you can find. Now the problem is that red unfortunately doesn't have a lot of amazing cards that aren't tied to the Universe 7 archetype. Surprise, right? I mean, I know that's what the leader came out with, but two of these in particular here. One probably doesn't need much of an introduction, which is the Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta. The other one is the promo coming out in the premium boxes on Friday when the set officially drops. The Vegeta, a little bit of a closer look here. 20k, deflect, crit. When your opponent's card's played, draw a card. Choose 2 of your opponent's battle cards, Adoring Barrier, minus them by 15k for the turn. Incredibly powerful. The new 6-drop Goku negate with deflect that people play in blue. You can play this, minus by 15 goes down to 5. You just swing at it with your leader, swing at it with your unison, and your opponent's going to have to rip cards, or they're just wasted 3 energy for this card to die, right? Sparking 10 for 2 colorless. If your leader's a monocolor Universe 7 card, play this card from your hand. What's important about this card and why I picked it is because this is monocolor Universe 7. So the yellow golden Frieza, that's Universe 7. The blue Android 17, that's a Universe 7. You have Gohan, you have Vegeta, you have Goku. And then there's another blue, it's either blue or black. The Gohan, when you combo with the Universe 7, I think it's a blue one. I can't remember. But like there's going to be Universe 7 leaders coming out forever, because this is until this game dies, because Universe 7 is obviously, you know, that's the most popular universe, and when they do these the universe survival arcs, they're gonna have to print Universe 7 cards, and maybe they'll print new leaders, and then this card's gonna always be played in there. This is a very, very important card. The Super Saiyan God Goku is a little bit different. It has 2 different effects, that are important, I should say, are really, really important. Counterattack, play this card, choose it up to your opponent's battle cards, and it costs 3 or less, and return to their opponent's hand. It's pretty cool. It's a 2-drop version of like the Sun Gohan Undying Spirit, and you just pop 2 things, bounce back to the hand. The important part of this card, though, is the permanent. If your leader, if your opponent's energy is in all of your opponent's energies in rest mode, they get this card's energy exhaust skill in all areas. Why this is important? Turn 1, your opponent plays something, passes to you. You can now charge a blue-red in active mode on turn 1. As early as turn 1. Because there's no energy requirement for this. It doesn't say if your opponent has 2 or more energy and all your energies in rest mode. It's turn 1. Playing against a multicolor deck, this is free multicolor. I picked this instead of the Vegeta because the Vegeta is a tournament promo. So it obviously is a good card. Well, not obviously, but you know what I mean. This though is a very, very good effect for blue-red. And I think blue-red, you know, excluding Invoker stuff, I think blue-red got a huge push with this set. And this card, and obviously more so the Vegeta, being able to just get free blue-red on turn 1 is incredible. Is it as good as something like Zamasu the Eliminator? No, it's not. But this combined with the Vegeta, it's pretty close. It's pretty close. I think they're very, very powerful cards. Vegeta more so is pretty close to the Zamasu the Eliminator effect. The other effect in this is this card gets 3k power for each card in your energy. That's pretty cool. So you play it on turn 5. This card gets, what, 15k? Pretty good, right? Pretty interesting effect, being able to play this out for 2 and then getting that effect. So I like it. It's pretty cool little effect. Once the Vegeta comes out, though, you'll probably just swap the Vegeta for this. I mean, swap this for the Vegeta. But until you can get your hands on a full playset of the Vegeta, this is going to be a very good alternative. And then the last 2 cards I want to go over, another Universe 7 card, which is Son Goku Sign of Mastery. This is a counterplay, limit 1, play this card. Sparking 7, if your leader is a mono red Goku card, reduce the energy cost of the card in your hand by 2, so it becomes a 1 cost. And this is not on your opponent's turn, it's just overall. If your leader is Universe 7, when this card is played, choose one of your opponent's battle cards and negative by 15 for the turn. Additionally, if the card of this skill reduces the chosen card's power to 0 or less, draw 1 card. So you can play this in the counter window. They play a battle card. You play this, you neg a battle card by 15. Because this choose up to 1, doesn't have to be the battle card being played. And when that card's power reduces to 0, if it reduces 0 by the skill, you draw a card. So it replaces itself as well. Very, very powerful effect. They did nerf this card a little bit, because making it only for the Son Goku leader. So you can't play it to Gohan and Vegeta as a as a 1 cost. You can still play it as a 3, but it's not as good. But this being a 19k as well, incredibly good. And the fact that the permanent is not on your opponent's turn. So you can play this very similar to how Robotic Riposte can be considered a 1 cost on your turn, even if you have the extra cards. As long as you have the extra cards in your energy or your drop. So being able to play a 19k out for 1, and then negging a battle card, because it doesn't say on your opponent's turn. So you can play this for 1, neg a battle card by 15, and then if it dies, you draw a card. It's really good, man. Really, really good card. And then Spectate. I had to try to find a Grand Priest card that I thought was really good, and that wasn't an SR, because the 2 best ones are definitely the SRs. Everything else is kind of average. But this card is very good. Counterattack, switch up to 1 of your red Grand Priest cards in your leader area to active mode. And if you have 4 more colors among cards in your energy and battle area, you can activate this counter skill from your hand without paying its energy cost. So why this is good is because your leader needs to be in active mode to activate the activate main battle, where you can tap him to draw a card in combo with a god. So essentially, if you're tapped out, or if you already used your leader effect for that turn, you can counterattack to restand your leader, and then get another counter window where you can tap him to draw a card and play out, combo with another guy. So it just gives you extra abilities to do that. And you can do that as many times as you want for that turn, because it's just whenever it's activated. It's free as long as you have 4 more colors. So when you charge 2 different color multicolors, this card's activated on turn 2. It's a very, very powerful card. You're probably never going to cast it for 1 unless it's like really, really early. But I think this card's really, really good to pick up. Obviously only for the Grand Priest leader. And maybe in the future they'll print more, but right now it only has that usage there. So thank you guys though for watching. Hopefully these videos were helpful for you guys. If you guys ever want to go back, check out all the other colors for the state of the meta for set 16. Almost said set 17. We're not there yet. So thank you guys for watching. I will have content coming out hopefully over the next week. Maybe some battles and some testing videos. I have a lot of deck profiles planned, and I want to have some other content hopefully that I can put out on the channel, as long as I can find the time to do it. That's the biggest problem with making content, if some of you guys know that. So but thank you guys for